How y'all doing today? I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. 'Tis I, the Native Patriot. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I wanted to talk about something that's in the title of the video, which is how I've been affected by Charlie Kirk's brutal ending in a way that I feel like I've either haven't felt like this in a long time or ever in my life. And before I continue, I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible, as succinct as possible. However, this is going to be like a stream of consciousness type of video. So if I do tend to ramble, I do apologize ahead of time. And if you're going to tell me, just get to the point. The point is that I feel affected by Charlie Kirk's brutal ending. And it's been weighing heavy on my heart for the past week because it's still pretty fresh. And unfortunately, because this is the internet, I have to say that I'm not even the biggest Charlie Kirk fan, and I feel so affected by the news of his passing. And that's what we're going to talk about for several reasons in this video. One of them is that, unfortunately, I happened to see the video of him up close when it happened, and that image will forever be burned into my head. And number two, the amount of people that have been celebrating his brutal demise is unsettling. Also because he was brutally ended in front of his two young kids and his wife. I feel so bad for them, especially the little kids. You know, having that trauma for the rest of your life to see your father being ended that way. And on top of that, having so many people, because they politically disagreed with their dad, are celebrating their dad's brutal demise. I think that's what's really been affecting me, is just like the amount of people, and it's not just like one or two people on the internet that are celebrating this. It's like doctors, some doctors out there, you know, some teachers, some people in these high profile careers that are educated and that are supposed to care about the community, meaning their patients if they're doctors, that are like openly celebrating the brutal demise of Charlie Kirk. And I've never felt this affected by, I guess, an influencers or internet celebrity or celebrities passing like this before. Also probably because the part that he was brutally ended at the hands of somebody else in such an evil fashion. I think that's why that's also affected me. But it's just incredibly sad, the amount of people that are celebrating his brutal demise. And as somebody who lives in New Mexico, literally wearing a New Mexico t-shirt, this is a New Mexico hat. I think the stitching is over here somewhere. Yeah, here. It's a New Mexico hat. I'm also drinking New Mexico branded brewed coffee. And it's delicious, by the way. Anyways, so as somebody who lives in New Mexico, I moved back here this past summer after not living in New Mexico for the past 10 plus years after I graduated college. But anyways, I was flipping through Instagram. By the way, if you like to, follow me on Instagram at the Native Patriot, just the way it's spelled here. I happened to, flip through a video on Instagram, and it's like a New Mexico influencer that makes videos about New Mexico news, and he was talking about like this burrito company somewhere here in New Mexico that I think was part of the bandwagon that was okay with Charlie Kirk's ending, and how there's people that are outraged, but there's also people, many people, that are like giving a high five to this burrito company. I don't know what the burrito company's name is. Saying like, yeah, they don't support NAZIs, so that's cool. We're gonna give this burrito place our business, and that's no surprise because New Mexico is very blue, very Democrat. There's a Democrat stronghold here in this country. I mean, in this in this state. Sorry, I'm driving and trying to pay attention to the road, and also, you know. Anyways, so it's like one thing if you don't support somebody's political views, but it's a whole nother thing to celebrate somebody's demise that happened in such a brutal fashion. You know what I mean? Like, if there was somebody that I didn't necessarily care for, I'm sure I would be indifferent to their passing as well. But like, to go above that and openly celebrate somebody's demise when the demise was so brutal in fashion that his wife witnessed it and his 2 young children witnessed it. Also, many people witnessed it. I'm sure the people that were there that were fans of Charlie will be traumatized too, because I was traumatized from seeing that video of him up close when it happened. And the fact that so many people are celebrating it is insane to me, only because they disagree with him politically. Now, I know the left likes to do this type of thing where they say, like, words are literally violence. They're so hyperbolic. But I don't agree with that. I don't think, obviously, words are not violence. Words are not physical. You know what I mean? Like, violence is actually physical. It's like, tangible. Words are not tangible in that same aspect. So it's crazy how many people are celebrating his demise. And like I said, I was passing on social media the burrito company, and I looked in the comments of this video, and then there was so many people that are like, it makes me want to go to this burrito company's business and give them my business. And it's like, really? Like, this is like a cool thing to like brag about. Like, oh yeah, I'm celebrating somebody's death that happened in a brutal fashion that I disagreed with politically. That's so cool, and it's fashionable, and people are gonna give me money because I'm celebrating somebody's death. Like, it's insane to me. It is so insane. And like I said, people are gonna feel how they feel. I'm not saying that, if certain people I knew passed away, I might feel indifferent. That's fine. You know what I mean? But like I said, to go a step above and celebrate somebody's death is a whole nother thing. And then to go a step further and then post themselves celebrating on social media, and then post it on social media. And then I will say that I am grateful, though, or I do take delight in people getting fired because they're celebrating on social media, because this is the monster that they created. They created cancel culture. And years ago, they were saying, something along the lines of, it's not freedom of speech, you can't have freedom of speech without freedom of consequences. And they were saying that so much back then. But now that, I don't know, what did they say, the roosters come home to roost or whatever? Now that it's happening to them, now they have a big problem, and they're like saying, oh, Trump is a fascist, and blah 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 blah. But it's like, no, y'all created this. Y'all created this monster. Now we're just letting you pet the monster, getting acquainted with something you created. So enjoy that. So that's, you know, that's wild. And I guess the silver lining is that it has brought sane people together as a country. And I've even seen videos of, like, I don't know if it's South Korea or somewhere in Japan or something, where, you know, there's people in the streets with like Charlie signs or whatever, and like basically having a not a memorial, but like, I don't know, remembering Charlie. So I feel like it's almost like a semi-worldwide kind of movement right now, mourning Charlie Kirk. And like I said, I say this as somebody who wasn't even a Charlie Kirk fan. You know what I mean? But I'm affected. I felt so affected by this the past several days, knowing that there's so many people out there. And like I said, it's not just, you know, young kids that live in their mom's basement posting on social media celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. It's like doctors, people that are supposed to care and give care to others, doctors that are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. These people are so-called educated, and they're celebrating someone's death that they politically disagree with. Like I said, you know, Charlie didn't murder somebody. You know what I mean? And like I said, as somebody who wasn't even like a fan of Charlie Kirk, I'm not going to defend anything that Charlie said, because that's like, yeah, I wasn't even a fan like that. You feel how you feel. This is mainly me just, I guess, being in utter shock that there's so many people that are delighted that he was ended in such a brutal fashion in front of his wife and in front of his kids, only because they politically disagreed with Charlie. And there's many people that I heavily disagree with politically, but I would not want somebody to go and end their life. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just like, where do we go from here? You know, as a country, where do we go from here? Like I said, it's not just one person or a couple people on social media that are celebrating Charlie's death. It's so many people. Like I said, so many people in high prestigious careers, like doctors, teachers, whatever, that are celebrating Charlie's death. It's like, it's crazy. And it's sick. And it's like, it made me sick to my stomach. And ever since all of this has gone down, it's just weighed so heavy on my heart. It's made me feel like not in good spirits. And of course, you know, I'll take my mind off of it. I'll go get off the internet and touch grass. But it's like, is this really the state of the country that we're in right now? And it could be a whole nother conversation, you know, how we got here. I think a lot of this division and stuff like that, and fire stoking. Whoa. Some horrible bumps here on the road, but fire stoking and all this stuff, like, I think this has been decades in the making. I think that there's plenty of indoctrination that is happening everywhere. Like in schools, you go to school and there's liberal teachers that like want to hang a rainbow flag or a TRANS flag, that ugly flag. And I'm saying this as somebody who is a homosexual. I don't think young children need to be involved with gender identity or sexuality or pride flags or Pride Month in general. I do not like the idea of like child drag queens. That's a whole separate video. I made plenty of videos talking about that already. So like, even as somebody who is a homosexual, I don't think kids should be involved with that type of stuff. And you know, you go to school and you're indoctrinated with that, with these liberal teachers. You turn on a movie and there's some political ideology, some alphabet soup message in there. So it's like it's everywhere you go. You know what I mean? And I feel like we have been really catering to these wackadoodles on the left for so long. So I'm at least hopeful, since many of these people are getting fired from their jobs because they were on social media celebrating Charlie Kirk's demise, like celebrating. Not just saying like, okay, he passed away, I feel indifferent. They were openly celebrating his demise. And now they're getting fired for it, for a monster cancel culture that they created. And now what do they say? The something roost. The chickens came home to roost. I don't know, dude. So I'm hopeful that they're at least getting a taste of their own cancel culture. But really, it's like, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? As a country, where do we go from here when it feels like there's people that would be okay if your life ended because they disagreed with you politically? That's insane. You know what I mean? So yeah, I felt very affected the past several days thinking about all of this. I will say it feels like this is a silver lining, that they think that because they ended Charlie's life that his message is dead, but it's emboldened. I feel like I've seen somewhere on the internet where there's, I guess, places all over the country that want to become a turning point chapter. So it's like ending his life doesn't end his message. It probably makes him like a martyr or whatever. He's going to go down in history now. And celebrating his death, I don't know, it's like, I wonder years from now how this is all going to look in history textbooks, where it's like, or, you know, people in the future are going to be like, wow, there was really people celebrating somebody else's death because they disagreed with him politically? Really? I don't know. It's just wild. It is so